Harriet Tubman, Hero of the Underground Railroad by Lori Mortensen, illustrated by Francis Moore. Harriet Tubman, Hero of the Underground Railroad by Lori Mortensen, illustrated by Francis Moore. Harriet Tubman was one of the bravest people in American history. She lived at a time when many black people were held in slavery. Harriet believed black people should be free. After escaping slavery, she risked her life to help free many other slaves. This is the story of Harriet Tubman. Around 1820, Harriet was born on a plantation in Maryland. She and her family were forced to live as slaves. While their master lived in a big house, they lived in a small cabin. It did not have any windows or furniture. The floor was dirt. Harriet did not get to play like most other children. She had to work. She didn't even get to live with her family. When she was about 5 years old, her master started sending her to work for other families. At one home, she cleaned the house and took care of a baby. The mistress said if the baby cried, Harriet would get whipped. The baby did cry. The mistress kept her promise. One day, Harriet got into trouble for taking some sugar. She was 7 years old and had never had such a treat. The mistress saw Harriet with her hand in the sugar bowl. She chased the girl with a whip. Harriet ran away from her angry mistress. She hid in a pig pen for 5 days. She had to fight the pigs for food scraps. Finally, she got so hungry that she went back to the house. She knew she would be punished. Harriet survived her difficult childhood. She grew into a strong young woman. When Harriet was 24, she married John Tubman. John was free. But marrying John did not make Harriet free. She later decided she would be free or die trying. Several years later, Harriet's master died. Harriet soon heard that she would be sold to another slaveholder. She could not bear the thought. Harriet ran away. She went to the home of a friendly white woman. The woman gave Harriet a slip of paper with 2 names on it. This was Harriet's first ticket on the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was not a real railroad. It was a series of homes. The people at these homes helped slaves escape. The homes were called stations. Slaves were called passengers. The people who guided them were called conductors. At the first station, a woman told Harriet to sweep the porch. This worried Harriet. But then she realized the task was a way to keep her safe. It made her look like one of the workers. After dark, Harriet climbed into a wagon and hid under a sack. She stayed there until a man drove her to the next stop on the Underground Railroad. Most of the time, Harriet traveled on her own. During the day, people hid her in barns, attics, and haystacks. At night, Harriet had to get to the next stop by herself. She waded through muddy rivers and watched the North Star. Harriet knew if she followed it, the star would lead her north to freedom. After traveling 130 miles, 208 kilometers, on foot, Harriet reached a city in the north, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. For the first time in her life, Harriet was free. There was no slavery in the north. Still, runaway slaves like Harriet weren't totally safe. They had to avoid slave catchers who wanted to return them to the South. Harriet returned to Maryland 19 times and led 300 slaves to freedom. She was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. She was never captured, and she never lost a passenger. Many slaves called her Moses because she led people to freedom, just like Moses led people to freedom in the Bible. In 1861, the Civil War began. Harriet helped the Northern Army. Alongside troops from the North, she returned to the South, where most fighting took place. She washed clothes, cooked, and nursed wounded soldiers. The men she cared for included African American soldiers. They were members of a famous group. They were called the Massachusetts 54th Regiment. Harriet became a spy and a soldier, too. She crossed enemy lines and learned many important things. One time, she discovered where the enemy had planted torpedoes along a river. Later, she returned with 300 soldiers and removed the bombs. When the war ended, Harriet returned home to New York. She never stopped helping others. She founded a home for homeless African American people. She built a school for children who needed help, and she worked for women's right to vote. Harriet died on March 10th, 1913. She was 93. Soldiers saluted and flags waved at her funeral. It was a fitting way to honor the woman who risked her life so others could be free.